Hey folks, Randy Newberg here in wonderful, beautiful, slightly windy Boise, Idaho. I'm here for the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers Rendezvous. Great ton of fun for me. All kinds of cool backcountry public land hunters here. I'm doing a podcast today with a group that is, well, they're a big supporter of us. They've been involved in this podcast since the beginning, and they've really stepped up their support even more, both in terms of sending their people out, having a presence in all kinds of places, becoming qualified as a company under the 2% for Conservation program, all kinds of cool stuff. That's the folks at Go Hunt. But before we get to that, I want to thank the people who make this podcast possible. Leupold, the title sponsor of this podcast, been with us since we started, which was 10 years ago. Not the podcast, but TV and everything else. Huge supporters in all we do, all the public land stuff we do. And can't thank them enough. I hope when you're in the market looking for great optics, you'll think about the companies that are supporting public lands and hunting, and you'll check out those gold ring products from Leupold. And then the next one would be Onyx Maps. Man, Onyx, we've been using them for, I think, 6 or 7 years now, ever since they started, however long ago that was. Just unbelievable tool for everything that we do. And they love our audience. They're big supporters of conservation. Also, every conservation event I go to, you will see Onyx Maps has a presence there. And for our listeners, they have a promo code that lets you get a 20% discount on any app products. So go out to onyxmaps.com, buy some of those great mapping products, use promo code RANDY when you check out, RANDY, and they're going to give you 20% off just for using that promo code. So onyxmaps.com, that's the place to get great product and save some money. The other is Orion Coolers. Orion has been supporting this podcast since the day it started. Damon and the crew down there, they make an amazing cooler. Damon does exactly what we do. He's been on our podcast a few times, and you've got to hear some of his wild adventures. He knows what we need in a cooler, and those coolers from Orion reflect exactly what Damon knows, what we ask, what other serious users ask for. Go to orioncoolers.com. Again, use promo code RANDY, and they're going to give you this really cool tumbler that they provide to anyone in our audience who uses the promo code. They want to make sure that you get a little bit extra when you buy one of those really cool coolers. Really cool coolers. Yeah, there we go. Not just cool, but really good. orioncoolers.com. And then we have the guests of this podcast from gohunt.com. We're going to get into a discussion here, but a lot of you wonder where we come up with some of these application strategies, how we do it, why we apply where we do, all those kind of things, where we get this information, that information. Huge part of it comes from all the information out there at gohunt.com. I say this on all the videos we do about tag applications is, if for nothing else, the application strategy articles you get from the insider service out at gohunt.com are worth more than the price of admission. Add on top of that all of the unit by unit information, public versus private land ownership information, and the best draw odds in the industry, and you have a product that you want to have. It is the product you want to have. I can say that. I can't tell you how many hours I spend on my Go Hunt Insider. At this time of year in the winter and spring when it's application season, if I'm not their top user, I'm sure I'm in the 1% of people who use their service. If they could look at how long I'm logged in and how many hours I'm logged in each week, they probably think I just fall asleep with it on or something. But anyhow, if you go out to gohunt.com, sign up for their insider, they're going to give you $50 of mad money, like cash, to spend in their gear shop if you use our promo code. They have a special promo code just for us. It's promo code RANDY, R-A-N-D-Y. And when you do that, they are going to give you $50 in the best gear shop you're going to find. A gear shop full of serious backcountry, tested, hardcore hunting gear. And with that, I'm going to turn on the switch here, and Lorenzo Sartini and Chris Porter from Go Hunt are here. And we want to have a big discussion about conservation, how conservation gets funded, not just with our time, but our money, our advocacy, all the things that go into making conservation what it is in America. So in a second, we'll be there. Thanks for following along. Well, folks, I told you that I was in what now is beautiful Boise, Idaho. When I showed up here yesterday, the wind was blowing about 50 miles an hour, and it had just got done snowing. And I am here for the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers Annual Rendezvous. And with me are some great folks who've been on plenty of our podcasts. They're people who help make this podcast possible. They help make our Elk Talk Live on Wednesday nights possible. And these are the folks from Go Hunt. And Lorenzo Sartini and Chris Porter are here with me. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. You guys just got in.
We literally just landed this morning.
Yeah.
Got a quick bite to eat, and now we're on the podcast with you.
This place is awesome.
Well, I really appreciate the people who are, I see your banners, you're sponsoring this, you're underwriting that over at the Rendezvous, that you guys have time to sit down and talk conservation with some chucklehead like me.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
I mean, conservation for us is our most important, data point when it comes to what we pay attention to. So for the BHA event, this is our first time at it. We heard nothing but great things about it last year. We decided to step up and support it in a bigger way this year. We're sponsoring the Brew and Meat Fest or something or whatever.
Brew and Bands.
Brew and Bands Fest, yeah.
Bands and beers.
Yeah.
There's 3 beers.
Something beer. That's all. There's beer, so we're involved. But yeah, so we're here and can't wait to get it going.
Yeah, well, I was over there this morning. I did a little presentation to their collegiate chapter. There's so many college kids here. It's crazy. These young, passionate hunting, fishing, public land folks were here. And so I asked BHA if I could talk to them because I've been running into a lot of them, and I wanted them to know how cool it is that these 20-some-year-olds are this committed to conservation. And so I was over there, and on my way there, I ran into some guy. He was wearing a Go Hunt hat, and he came up and introduced himself to me, and I'd not met the guy before, and I'm trying to read his name tag, and it's from somewhere, I think Oakdale, California, if I remember right.
Northern California.
Is that Northern?
I think so, yeah.
And after we talked for a while, I'm like, oh, you got a Go Hunt hat, huh? He's like, yeah, if you live in California, you're going to be doing a lot of out-of-state hunting. And he said, so that's something I need. He
His
said,
go-to.
Those are our best customers.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, in my podcast, this podcast, the number one state of downloads is California. And part of that's just population. What is there, 34 million people in California or what?
36.
Okay. And even if you have
It's that high?
Oh, it's giant.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And if you have a 1%, of people there who hunt, that's still
It's big.
a lot of hunters.
It's
a lot
big.
of people.
Yeah.
We our next state that we were going to launch got down to an office debate a little bit.
Oh, yeah?
And what it came down to was data points on Chris every day would say, we got 4 more people asking for California. We got to go live with California. It's got to be our next state. So anyways, we decided, and we actually launched California today, or, later last week today. So
Okay.
it's,
So to non-Californians, it's not a state that they're going to go as non-residents to apply for. But there's so many people, especially Northern California, that hunt. They hunt out of state, but they want their home state as well.
Huh.
they just want to know
that they would
what
wanna
they
know
truly
that.
have, because California, not to say anything too bad, but sometimes it may be overregulated in some sense and have some ins and outs to it that are different. Yeah, that are different from some other states. So a lot of the residents there don't even know their draw odds or how many tags are going through a hunting zone or anything like that. So, we went out there and collected that data, and now it's, as far as the rest of the states of Insider, California is the same way, where they're going to have draw odds for their species and then also knowing tag quota, harvest success for all the different zones that they'd be hunting. So,
really?
Yeah, it's live and well now.
Cool.
We had to get back to our biggest member base.
We haven't even started promoting it. Next week we're gonna start promoting it. Yeah. But yeah, it's there. It's live.
Cool.
It's crazy too because the season opens like early July.
Yeah,
like
blacktails. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's awesome.
Did you know that residents and non-residents have the same draw odds for deer? So if you have 8 points as a resident, I have 8 points as a non-resident with the exact same draw odds for the same hunt coast.
Not a separation?
No.
Wow.
Isn't that
That's
crazy?
Interesting. Yeah. No. Huh. Well, I get a ton of requests of people who want me to go and hunt Northern California for blacktails. And I have a friend who hunts, I better not say where.
Where's
call from John? Hey, Randy, shut your mouth.
Let's hear it.
But let's just say it's a wilderness area, and I haven't been able to get a film permit. And he goes in there archery hunting. He does spectacularly good. And so it's something that's kind of always been on my list that I want to go do, but until I've solve the public land film permit problem inside a wilderness area. I don't know when I'm going to get to do it. I've hunted California down in the Chico Redding area for waterfowl before.
Oh yeah, I've hunted waterfowl there like crazy.
That is unbelievable.
Hunted there like crazy. Whew. That's unbelievable.
That's a different level of waterfowl hunting than I was used to.
Long story, but I'll make it very short, is usually that valley in the past, like in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, were very heavy in rice farming. Mm-hmm. And that brought all the pintails through there.
Oh, okay.
Well, then they stopped rice farming and started going to more, whatever was
different
more monetary gain to them over rice. And the pintails started leaving.
Oh, really?
So we have a family up there that's done this big project on trying to get the pintails to come back through the California Valley, the San Joaquin Valley and all that, and it's working. So
cool.
I've hunted all through there and seen that dip in the pintail and seen them coming back now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I did not know what a sprig was.
Yeah.
I always called them pintails. And then I'm there and these guys are like sprig. Finally, I'm like, what the heck are these sprig things? Are these like coots or what's the deal? And everyone looked at me like, you are a duck hunter and you don't know what a sprig is.
They have their own slang just like everyone else when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so this is funny. The other night, Steve Ranella calls me and he's like, hey, I'm doing a piece on burbot, which is a freshwater fish. It's some people call him eel pout. He's like, what did you guys call him up in North? He knew what the answer was going to be. He says, what did you guys call him up in northern Minnesota? Oh, we called them lawyers. And so he's recording me and he's like, we're having this discussion about, well, why do you think they call them lawyers? I'm like, I don't know, maybe because they got beady eyes and they're slippery, slimy things. And I don't know. So later on, I told some people that Steve and I had that discussion the night before, which is a plug for his podcast. Go listen to Meat Eater podcast.
He does a good job.
He does.
Yeah. And so we got in this discussion about these regional or, localized names for things. What people call a certain species when the rest of the world calls it something else. So like Mearns quail, I've always heard of them as Mearns because the only place I've ever hunted Mearns quail is in Arizona.
Yeah.
You go to Mexico, you go to other places, it's Montezuma quail. There's all kinds of...
It's the same quail.
It's the same quail. Huh. And so like I hear people call certain quail valley quail. I'm like, well...
That's the Nevada, what Nevadans would call it, is valley quail.
And it's like, well, do they have a little curly Q on their head? Well, yeah. Well, no, those are Gamble's quail. Yeah. No, they're valley quail. So it's just interesting.
It is interesting. It honestly gets down to like even mule deer, though. Mm-hmm. I mean, you get in other states, some call them dirty giants, some call them tanks, some call them Slavs. Everybody's got their own little, which is awesome.
Muleys.
Deer, muleys. Everybody's got their own little deal on how they call their home state animal, which is awesome.
Like in Montana, if you shoot a small 4x4 or 4x5 elk, they call it a raghorn. Now, there's places I've been to in Colorado where they're called brush heads.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, I'm
really?
like, what? Yeah, like there's been places I've went to, and everyone, it's like the word I always used was brush head. I'm like, I must.
I'm gonna pick that one up. I like that. It sounds cooler than raghorn.
Yeah. So it just going back to the California waterfowl hunting. I really felt stupid because I'd shot a lot of ducks in my life, but I didn't know what a sprig was. But
from what I mean.
This guy's a waterfowl freak right here.
Not to say I've been around it for a long time, but it seems that sprig was a West Coast deal for a long time. I mean, obviously more people have picked it up over time,
right?
But that was like, back in the glory days of California when guys were shooting 7 sprig pintail as their limit.
Right.
That's when it was coming in.
Okay.
Like that's when they started picking up different names for them.
I should remember from that one podcast, Lorenzo, you said you went to the University of Montana and that you'd skip out every morning to shoot your limit of mallard. So I should have recalled that
I had
you
some
are
good places up
guy.
there. Some really good places.
While the football coach is recruiting him. And
all I wanted to do was duck hunt. That's all I wanted.
Well, if there's one thing Montanans are very silent about, and there's some guys from Wyoming who they're going to be mad at me for saying this too. There's some unbelievable waterfowl hunting in Montana and Wyoming. And it's a little bit of a cultish thing. Not cultish, but very well-guarded secret.
Very.
Yeah. And if the waterfowlers of some of the, California has this great waterfowling tradition, or other states with great waterfowling traditions, if they knew how good it was along the rivers of Wyoming and Montana, they would be there.
Well, I can't get in trouble for this. Montana is the number 2 of production of ducks, meaning broods and new born birds, right?
Yep.
So you have the prairie pothole region. You have local birds that are the number 2 in production out of Montana on the East Coast and on the eastern side of the state, and then the middle of the state. Yep. So you have local birds in the beginning of the season, and then you're first in line for the Canadians coming down through. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's like resident deer and ones that migrate through.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty much it, Chris. And
it's awesome.
And when they come through, if you can hit it right, like when a big storm has hit Alberta and Saskatchewan,
it's awesome.
These big curly-tailed northern ducks, they've been flying for probably 5-10 hours, and they just want a place to sit down.
And they want the safest place.
Right.
You got a big decoy spread. It looks safe.
Yeah.
They're coming in.
And the limit is we're allowed. What are we
7.
allowed? 7 mallards.
Yep.
Yeah.
7 mallards, and pintail limits up to 2 now, which is awesome.
Yeah. And
when I was in college, it was only 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And
so it's coming back.
Shut up, Randy.
See, I can't get in trouble for this.
I'll talk talking too much here, Randy. So just forget about that. But so this gets me to 3 things, or 2 things about 3 different places. Drought in Arizona, New Mexico, and how you guys are doing in Nevada, and how we're getting hammered in Montana. Because when you talk about duck production, Lorenzo, part of the Missouri Coteau area from the prairie potholes comes through northeast Montana and up there. Montana, that our prairie area is at 300% of normal snowpack.
Which is crazy.
Crazy. Just yesterday, they got 6 to 12 inches more out there. It is just right now nothing but crusted, packed, heavy, wet, frozen ice.
Which is the worst kind for this time of year.
For deer and antelope, It is going to be a train wreck. I mean, people who live out there are like, they're just tipping over like flies. And it's just, we get these every 7 to 10 years. We get one of these kind of winters. And it's tough country out there. It gets cold, brutal cold.
Windy cold.
Yeah. But if you're a waterfowl hunter, there's going to be so much water on the landscape. This is going to be the best waterfowl production year Montana's probably had in 25 years. So it's that trade-off. I know most people who listen to our podcast are like, no, I'll take those deer and antelope.
Yeah, hey, look, I'll take the deer and antelope too. But, shooting those ducks later on is pretty fun too.
And I've been a big promoter of the deer hunting in southeast Montana. And no one's going to go there and shoot 180-inch mule deer.
Yeah.
But there's a good mix of whitetail and mule deer. There's plenty of public land. But I'm out on our Hunt Talk forum this year. I'm trying to, there's a thread out there, and a lot of locals are doing a really good job of just being realistic of what it's going to be this year.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that in Montana, you have to apply March 15th for non-residents. And then you find out, I think we find out on Monday, April 16th is when that week we're going to find out. But that's kind of that critical period that if the weather starts to lighten up a bit, okay, they can get through. But if Mother Nature puts its foot on the throttle like it has this year, that's also that time frame where it just smashes them. So for any listeners, I'm just giving them a realistic warning.
On a bright note, though, it was a super mild winter in Colorado, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, and then we had a really good late March with precipitation. So it was like the opposite,
Nevada,
right?
Yeah, it's bounced back. I wouldn't say 100% back, but it's close.
Okay.
But I think Utah's back to like 80% of annual snowfall, which, I mean, and there's been times in the past where it's down to like 30 or 40% for the year. So it's not as bad as it looked December, January. Yeah. So it's bouncing back a little bit, but still not fantastic. And then honestly, it gets back to conservation. Like the reason why we're here supporting BHA and the reason why we support anything for the betterment of hunting is there is times that, human dollars, human resources, whether it's time and volunteering and those types of things, you got to go out there and help every once in a while. And when there's drought years, like Nevada's had a lot in the past, we're out there helping build or donating to help build water. You saw our product development guy out there helping build water sources for sheep. And, it just gets into that level of, conservation. This is when it steps in, is when the year gets hard for the animals. This is when it matters.
Yeah. So. What Lorenzo is referring to there is, I don't know how I did this on my wife's birthday.
Yeah. By the way, I found that out afterwards. Stoner told us that.
Yeah. So I've always wanted to go and participate in one of these guzzler projects. And so Matt Maples from Nevada Division of Wildlife said, well, Randy, here's the calendar. Well, my wife and I were going to go down together. And I told her, I said, well, on this day, I'm going to be kind of busy. You go see your family. And she's like, okay, whatever. Well, then some things changed where she couldn't make it. And she's like, are you still going down there? I'm like, well, I really kind of feel like I got to go do this. I told him I'd help. And I'd volunteer and I'd film all this stuff of this. We went out to your Valley of Fire State Park out there northeast of Vegas and repaired two guzzlers that had been fallen into a state of disrepair. Mm-hmm. So it's funny, I'm standing there and I hear this voice. I'm like, man, that voice sounds familiar. Well, someone else grabs me and talking to me, and then they call our name because it's such a remote area. They flew us in helicopter. Yeah. And they rattle off the names, Randy Newberg, Matt Maples, Ben Stoner. I'm like, Stoner's here? And
I know that guy.
For those of you who are wondering where the joke is in this, folks, Lorenzo was talking about, what's Ben's
He oversees our technology.
Stoner, yeah, he oversees our technology.
Okay.
He's our product development guy.
He's the man.
So out in the middle of the Nevada desert, I run into this go hunt guy, Ben Stoner, who's out there volunteering on a conservation project on a Saturday. I'm like, Ben, what are you doing out here? He's like, I'm here to help. I want to see how this is done. I'm going to take a bunch of images, photos. I want to help out. And he's like, what are you doing out here? I said, well, and so that's when I told him the long-winded story about this might be my last project ever because it's my wife's birthday today.
You're missing it. I'm not getting out of the house again.
Yeah. But it was fun to see him there and all the great volunteers. They had 40 some volunteers there.
That's awesome.
And getting to your point, Lorenzo, of how sometimes they need our help.
This is when it matters.
It's really evident. I think those of us who live in the Northern Rockies, at times maybe we take for granted that the landscape is a little more resilient, maybe not quite as prone to the drought and the fluctuations of some other more fragile landscapes. We surely see it in winters like this, though. I mean,
you guys see the winter kill. We see the land stopping to give to the animals,
Yeah.
whether it be food, whether it be water. That's what we deal with.
Yeah.
You guys deal with the winter kill, which is a whole nother level of problem.
Yeah. And so we're doing this sheep film for the Wild Sheep Foundation. And the premise of it is, it kind of gets to that conservation story of, I've been fascinated by sheep advocates just because it's, to me, why are they so passionate about a species that, let's face it, even if you study your Go Hunt Insider as
through and through,
your odds are still probably less than 1% that you're drawing a sheep tag in the lower 48 this year. Driving down here, Marcus, my camera guy, and I, we were trying to do the math of, even with all the points I have, what are the odds that I'm going to draw a sheep tag? And we came up with, well, it's about 2.5% of all the places I apply.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's actually really good. You're above the 1% mark.
Yeah. And then he says, you realize that means sometime in the next 40 years, statistically, you should draw. I'm like, I'll be 93.
That's depressing.
But the reason this whole sheep advocacy thing has really interested me in the last couple of years is, what is it that drives people to be passionate and do something for a species that completely dispels the myth that we hunters only do conservation because we want to go shoot something?
Yeah.
These sheep nuts, no, they know. I talked to many of them who are out there. I'm like, why are you doing this? Well, it's what I do. I love these projects. It's my way of giving back. It's my whatever. And and there were a couple people out there that I don't know if I'll ever apply, but I know this is going to help out a few. The guys explaining to me there aren't many mule deer there by the sounds of it in that part.
Yeah, little to none.
Yeah, he said, but I love songbirds. He said, it sounds like he's really into bird watching. He said, these man-made water sources are unbelievable for bird watching. And so it's back to your point of how sometimes you just, it's up to us. And
it is.
And
humans are in a very interesting and fantastic situation where, we can digest the complexities of the situations going on and help the animals better themselves. And we can make decisions, whether it be water, whether it be feeding through a terrible winter like Idaho did last year. Right. I'm sure Montana's going to have to do some form of that this year.
Montana has a policy they don't feed.
Really?
Yeah.
So what do they do in winter kills?
Nothing.
Really?
Nothing. You just let
there's
it
no help
run
you
its
can
course. Yeah, Montana has a policy that they do not feed in
What's
hard
that
winters.
come from?
It's just the agency said that the studies show that, one, between cost, and two, usually by the time they get around to realizing it's necessary, the effectiveness.
It's too late.
It's kind of like you could start feeding earlier, but then you'd be doing that in many years, and then all of a sudden the weather lightens up in March, and it's like, well, we didn't really. They would have made it even if we hadn't done it. So they've just adopted, and this is like 30 years ago they came up with this idea. Just like Montana does not stock trout in our streams, in any of our, I think they classify them as blue ribbon streams. It's all natural reproduction. They will not stock trout. So every trout you catch in a Montana stream is a wild native trout. Some states have different, remember when was it, 2000, somewhere 7 or 8, that the Gunnison Basin in Colorado was just getting creamed.
Terrible.
Yeah.
And they went in there and they fed deer to get some of them through. Idaho last year.
2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, last year Idaho was here. They were doing some in certain
areas, in key places.
Yeah, it's always interesting to read that, and for me, Montana being an opportunity state, I'll say more than anything. By statute, we have to sell 17,000 non-resident deer elk combo licenses, and
even with winters like this.
Even with winters like this, and another 5,500 deer-only licenses by statute.
Yeah,
and so
why does that have to be set in stone like that?
There's the old saying of That's how we've always done it. So it doesn't have to be.
It's a really powerful old saying.
Yeah. But then you look at how many tens of thousands of resident tags Montana sells also. And unfortunately, I look at what happened after the hard winter in 97, 98. Our mule deer after that in some places never did rebound. Never. They still haven't. And so my worry is that this is an equivalent winter to that in some places. In western Montana and southwest Montana, we're at like 150%. We're not like central. If you drew a line from about Columbus, Montana up to Great Falls, everything east of that is just hammered. I don't know how long. The deer are resilient. We're lucky we have, and some people are going to fry me for saying this, but in an opportunity state like Montana, if there wasn't some private land sanctuary for some of these animals, we wouldn't have any age class left. They'd get shot because we hunt mule deer in the rut with a rifle.
Prime time rut.
Yeah.
Is like not for 5 days, like
not for 5 days, for the whole month of November.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the fact that some places are just off limits, when you have that much general hunting pressure, every 2-year-old, every forky buck in the state would get tipped over. And so
it's a catch-22. It really is.
Yeah.
I wish they would track harvest success on those general tags a lot closer. Like they really don't know what's being killed where.
They don't. And again, Montana, I'm trying to think of, I'm sure there's some other western states, and I don't mean to pick on Montana, but I live there, so I get to see a lot of it. Montana doesn't have mandatory reporting. Like you guys in Nevada.
Absolute mandatory. You can't apply the next year unless you report.
Right. Same with...
I just paid a $50 penalty because I forgot to do it online for last year.
And that's another revenue source for the state, which is great.
What am I not going to pay the 50? I have to apply in 18.
Yeah. And so for
it's
me...
good revenue, like Lorenzo said.
If we say as hunters we are conservationists, if you can't accept the idea of mandatory reporting...
I agree.
Are you really a conservative? If you want to
be the stewards of conservation. That's the first thing about it is how many tags and how many kills.
Yeah.
Like we strongly feel that you've got to be able to understand how many were killed in order to better hunting for the next year or for generations to come.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I wish we could some of us have went to the commission over the years. Our Fish and Game Commission, we went to the legislature. There's been a push by hunters to say go to mandatory reporting here because we spend a lot of time accumulating data. If you've ever hunted Montana, you get a phone call.
Yeah.
They randomly pull people and they have humans on one end calling someone on the other. And anymore, I don't ever pick up my phone.
Ever.
My landline. I'm getting, and most of the listeners are probably like, Newberg still has a landline? What kind of nut is he? But it's because my wife wants it because that's the number her parents have comfort. So that's why I have a landline. But
imagine if they texted you, said 1, yes if you killed, 2, no if you didn't. It's who's going to not
or even
respond?
Like just the ease of the internet now. You know, we all apply online. How come you just go in there, put your tag number in, and fill out your survey?
Yeah. Arizona sent me a survey before I even got home. My survey, when I got home, it was there waiting for me. And I think it saves a ton of money. I've talked to the Arizona guys, and they said these surveys are so helpful for us because, 1, they give us great data. 2, they save us a ton of money of other ways of collecting the information. And that's money that now we can put into
back towards
conservation. Exactly. So
that's an incredible state, by the way, that manages opportunity versus the limited stuff.
Yeah,
Arizona,
they do a good job.
They do an incredible job.
They do an incredible job.
You guys, so I was on the phone with some Arizona Game and Fish folks the other day talking about some things, and I said that same thing. I said, you guys are residents, so you probably don't see your state through the lens that I do as a non-resident. And I went through this whole list of things of what I think Arizona's doing right. And they're like, guess what? You're right. We don't look at it that way because we're residents.
Yeah.
And but to your point, Chris, of their mix between quality and quantity of opportunity is I don't know any state that's been able to solve that riddle to the degree that Arizona has.
I fully agree.
So
Colorado's pretty good, but their densities, they've been
It's
blessed
just-
with an
yeah, I
amazing
mean,
density.
yeah.
The fact that Arizona can do it, desert climate, desert populations
Right,
of
exactly.
animals, like it's
Yeah.
unbelievable that they can pull that off.
Yeah. So,
It's awesome.
I'm telling Arizona Game and Fish that there's one thing they need to promote more, and I'm hoping they'll give me permission to promote it heavily. So I'm not going to say it on the podcast. Someone will have to listen to the next podcast. But you guys, it's a tweak you guys will want to put in your strategy articles, and it has to do with youth hunting.
Awesome.
They have some. There's a reason my son is 28 years old and has 17 points for most species in Arizona.
That's fantastic.
It is so inexpensive for youth to build points. Non-resident youth. Go look
Can I
at
be your kid?
Does he thank you every year when he's applying? That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the
17
reason
points.
is as their non-resident youth license is a pittance, and you have to pay very, very small amount for the point or for the application. So I'm looking at that. I'm like, I can't afford not to apply him.
Yeah.
And along the way, he's applying for tags. He never drew any, but he was still had his name in the hat.
Yeah,
still.
for
Then
sure.
it's smart because when he turns 18 or whatever, when it stops, he's got points built up. He's not quitting
He's
in.
not walking away from-
Yeah, he's
It's
built
smart.
into the state from then
If
on.
any of your kids had 10 points, would you let them walk away from 10
Absolutely
deer
not.
points
No
in
way.
Arizona?
Zero.
No way.
No. And now that Arizona has switched from a calendar year license of January to December to now it's a 365-day license.
Right.
What I'm thinking I want to do is before the deer draw in June is to really promote to people, you know what? Get your kid applied for this deer and the sheep, which are the limited entry hunts in June. Their license is going to be good and it's going to carry them forward. You can use that same license for the elk and antelope draw next February. And
100%.
I'm not sure if Arizona realizes that now they got my son as a customer for life, man.
Absolutely.
He's hooked.
Yeah.
So I would like to see more states think about ways to do that.
Totally agree.
I don't know if they will, but Arizona is just a fun place.
It really is.
We had, 3 or 4 guys in the office draw archery elk tags this year with
No way.
We had 3 guys draw that, and then 2 guys draw late rifle.
Really?
Good late
Are
rifle.
you including Scotty too, Hottie, our
Yes.
intern?
Yeah, our intern drew.
No way.
And then I actually drew my late rifle tag as well. And that goes to Arizona. I mean, I had 8 points. I was more or less guaranteed the chance of drawing my tag. And I mean, that's 8 elk points, and I'm off and running. There's guys in the office now that we have 3 archery tags. We have another rifle tag in there, and that's just the state of Arizona for us.
Cool.
I mean, they do a good job with the opportunity.
A couple there's 1, 2 pointers,
It's
Really?
crazy.
Yeah.
Huh.
low.
My cousin killed, I mean, not to throw out numbers or anything, but safely a 330 bull last year on 2 points.
Wow.
Great.
I mean, it's incredible.
How cool is that?
People don't know that.
I know. And people, and I would say you guys in Nevada are in this same situation where if you hunt general units in other states, your perception of what a good hunt is different than what you guys. There's not a bad elk tag in Nevada. There's not a bad mule deer tag in Nevada.
If
There's
you
not
have a tag in Nevada, it's awesome.
Right. There's
Yeah.
not a bad elk tag in Arizona that
Exactly.
I've
I agree.
experienced.
I fully agree.
When I think a lot of non-residents are like, well, I don't want to draw unit 5B. That's just so.
It's only a 2-point unit.
Yeah.
3-point
Yeah.
unit, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well, there's some elk in there.
Right. Or I don't want to draw 4A, or I don't want to draw, whatever the list is. I only want to draw 9 or 10 or 1 or 23. That or nothing. Okay, if that's
I'll
what you
see
want,
in
that's
40
fine.
years when I have 10 elk. And,
Or never. I mean, if they're just
or never.
starting,
Yeah. So some
they
of
don't
this,
have the hunting pressure as some of the general units.
Right. I mean, you go to Montana, and if in a general hunt in Montana, I saw in 5 days what I see on these kind of so average draw with 5-6 point units in Arizona. I would never tell anyone where I was at in Montana if I had that kind of hunting. I'd drive there and I'd go borrow the neighbor's Toyota Prius, and that's what I'd park at the trailhead. I would want nobody to know where I was at. But so that, I guess that's
the Prius.
That's a long tangent there about conservation and but the one part I want to get to, what are you guys seeing as far as moisture in Arizona and New Mexico? Because all the people who live there are telling me it's still really, really rough. It's not
as rough as what people were seeing in December, January, which is usually when people are really paying attention, including us. I mean, there's no question snowpack is a big deal. It's that slow runoff of water that gives the vegetation water to see through the spring. But the good news is we've had some very healthy rainstorms in the Southwest.
Okay. Good.
Recently, actually very recently, and then we had a really good late February and March, like as far as rainfall goes. So again, I'm not going to say it's as good as if we had snowpack, because that's that constant slow runoff when when you get that constant of it. But I mean, it's obviously better than nothing. Right. It's better than shutting the spigot off altogether.
Yeah, and a lot of people who live in the northern or in the East or Midwest, they don't realize that you guys in parts of Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico get this summer monsoon season.
We do.
Most of your rainfall comes in July, August, and September.
And if we can get that in July, that's the primo years. Yeah. Some of the times it comes too late, and some of these animals stunt out on horn growth. If if you drew that once in a lifetime elk or deer tag, they might stunt out a little bit if we get that rainfall a little too late. But if we can get it July 1st-ish, if it starts that monsoon season, it's off and running.
Yeah. Well, last year was a terrible monsoon season, everyone says, and that's why everyone was kind of worried about, okay, we came into this winter with way below moisture from the 2017 monsoon season. If we don't get a ton of snow or a ton of rain, boy, 2018 is going to be tough. Yeah. So just give me a tag. I'll go there and figure it out.
I agree. I mean, the animals have been through it before. It's going to be, it's still going to be hunting. You're still going to have to find them. You're still going to have to kill them, that whole deal. Yes, it's better when there's more water, but it's not like they just completely disappear when there's less water. Yeah. I mean, they're still around. They just, there's some intricacies that you have to figure out. But for the most part, in my inner network of guys, there's a shed ban in Nevada right now, so not a ton of guys are out there for the most part. But guys who are working on water features up in the central of the state, they're saying the water's still flowing. Oh, very good. Cool. So when Nevada specifically, it's good.
When I draw my sheep tag there this year, you're saying that I should be just fine with water then.
Yeah. It's not terrible. I'm trying to look it up right now.
Yeah, the word on the street with our inner network is, the springs are still going. It's not looking as bad as what some of the precipitation maps have shown.
Okay.
The last 2 weeks of March were way above average.
Yeah, cool. Really good for us.
Good. Mountains got 6 to 8 feet in 2 week period.
Even Las Vegas got pounded with rain.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I could tell when I flew in there on my wife's birthday for that thing. There was a lot of snow in Mount Charleston area out there.
We still have snow on the mountain right now, which it's a really good snowpack here if we're carrying snow into June, but we'll carry snow into May this year. Which, it's decent.
Yeah.
The thing is, we had nothing in December, January, February.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, March was
been awesome.
Cool.
Really good.
Well, this being application season, and we're kind of getting towards the end of it, almost all of the discussion out on our Hunt Talk forum, all of the emails I get are about these kind of things we've just been talking about, of where should I draw, or what's the weather like? Has it been a bad winter? Is it, whatever. Well, then we're going to get to the point where, all right, all the results are out. Today they said we're supposed to get New Mexico results, but I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, Brady's been stressing out over that all day long, hitting refresh about 1,000 times today.
There's a guy here, Brandon Wynn, who he always has told me he's got the inside track because he's from Albuquerque. And last year he had it, and he texted me like, get ready. They're going to send emails today. And they did. Well, he said it on Wednesday. I'm like...
And still haven't sent
No, they haven't. So I'm like, dude, you just lost all your credibility, man. Last year was just a lucky guess for you. But when people are asking all this stuff, let's face it, there's years where you don't draw a tag. Mm-hmm. And so then it's like, what do you fill it in with? How do you still want to go hunting? Yeah. And if, for those of us who live in a resident state like Montana or Idaho, we're pretty spoiled in that we know we've got
extremely spoiled.
Yeah, Wyoming, we got our over-the-counter thing. Or if you live in one of the...
As Nevadans looking out, all you guys are extremely spoiled.
I know, we are. It is ridiculous how spoiled we are, and we sometimes take that for granted. But for guys like you who live in a state where you can't go do all right, I'm going to go down to the hardware store, buy my elk tag like Randy can. What do you guys, how do you look at that of, hey, I still want to go hunting this year. I want to go deer hunting, or I want to go elk hunting. Yeah, I'll do my waterfowl or my small game, whatever. But you guys, in my mind, I look at, all right, Idaho, Colorado, those are probably the two places I look for over-the-counter or fallback safety net kind of places. Is that?
So honestly, what you're explaining is like the original vision of Go Hunt was because we don't have those guaranteed tags. So it's always figuring out, where do we have to travel? Where do I have to go? How do we get tags? Like that's what the genesis of Go Hunt was. But for us, we all have different needs. I'm going to be a newlywed this year. Chris has his second baby on the way this year.
You're going to be a newlywed. Congratulations.
Next
like
month.
a week.
Yeah.
When?
So it's next month, May 12th.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's
congratulations.
Thank you. It's coming up quick. So, everybody has different needs. So it comes down to logistics and travel. And, am I going to bring her with me because she loves to hunt and I'm trying to get her into it? She's going to take her hunter safety. And, I need something that she's going to have fun. I don't want to break her back like some of these other husbands I've heard of in the past, which I will do at some point, I guarantee. But, I want to get her to like it. Chris has his second baby coming in July. So for me, this year, obviously, depending on how many points I'm carrying, Wyoming, just apply for the draw. Those general elk tags are, it's pretty hard to beat.
Right. Great
opportunity. Got a chance at some good bulls, get out there, backcountry hunt, which is my absolute favorite, archery backcountry. And that's one that you can, for the most part, guarantee if that's the path you're going down.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if you go into the special draw, which I'm willing to, that's obviously, not everybody's fallback, but it is for me. And I fell back on that this year, and I'm going to fall back on Idaho. So I did Colorado last year.
So when you say you're going to fall back on Idaho, Lorenzo, what do you mean for deer and elk?
For
Just
elk.
Come do it over the counter?
Yep. For elk. Okay. Exactly.
Will you do archery or rifle?
We're going to do rifle.
Okay.
Because you're doing archery.
Because I'm doing archery in Wyoming.
Oh, in Wyoming.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have to make it work, obviously, with the seasons. And I want to come home in between to see my new bride. So I don't want to get killed in my first year.
Yeah.
So like I said, I kind of have different needs, as far as a single guy who just wants to go hunt everything under the sun, which is what I was doing 2 years ago. And I was hunting Colorado, Idaho, Montana, everywhere.
Yeah. It was a little different this year. I'm in his office. I'm like, all right, let's go over the film schedule. All right, I put him down for a bunch of stuff I was proposing. He's like, that's kind of a lot. I'm like, a little different tone this year.
First time I've ever said that's a lot.
It took me a second to get. He's like, first year of marriage. I'm like, gotcha.
Got to ease into this one. And there's two schools of thought. One, you keep it the same so they know what they're getting. Right. Or two, you ease them in so they like hunting. I want her to like hunting. Right. So, I very well could be wrong with that, but
you guys are a very good example for a lot of our listeners. Like Chris, you said you guys are having your second baby this year.
Baby girl.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. Congratulations. And so
I'm doomed. 3 girls, including my wife.
Yeah. Well, for me, I was in that mode for a while, but then your life starts getting back to its point of, all right, everyth's figured out, and just get out of my hair, you and your buddies go, or whatever, And for a while, my wife has a pile of points. Because she used to hunt a lot.
Party up.
Well, she said that because she's sitting on lots of points in Wyoming. That's where most of her points are. But she said, I will go if you promise you won't bring camera guys. Nothing against my camera guys. She just has never been on camera, never will be, never has. So
she just wanted some true one-on-one time with you.
I think that's it. When she gets that, she's usually like, "Oh, this wasn't all it was cracked up to be."
That's like saying go to work, but don't clock in. I mean,
So, and the reason I bring up the example the two of you have is. And why I was interested for how you're using your quote unquote fill-in safety net hunts is I know a lot of our listeners are like, you know what, because of work, because of family, because of kids, whatever, if this
Things
doesn't
change.
happen and I roll the dice in New Mexico, Arizona, or Utah or whatever, and I don't draw, my only hunt is, all right, I'm going to go do Colorado over-the-counter elk, second rifle, or whatever it might be. And so you guys, was it last year that you guys started doing a lot of on the Go Hunt Insider, a lot of the general and over the counter
over the counter, and then we added the percentage of public, private, which is a big filter, and then we started covering it more in strategy articles.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, we've covered it for a while, but we really want to highlight those things for exactly this question, which the genesis of Insider being built was for this, but we just wanted to spotlight like, hey, yeah, we have, draw odds and all of these things for people carrying a bunch of points, but there is opportunity out there. There's plenty of it.
Right.
And, not to get too long-winded, but, his and I's birthday are in November. We want to hunt Colorado mule. Is it really?
Yeah.
November what? 5th? He's the 10th. I'm the 11th. We're all right there.
I tell people that's why I was a crazy hunter. Every birthday present I got as a kid was hunting
me
gear
too.
because that was
absolutely. And I played football, and that was my absolute go-to when I was a kid growing up. I was into, the trying to do sports, which I wish I was just hunting now. November was when my season ended, mid-November, and my dad and I would go to Idaho on some of those over-the-counter whitetail hunts and go to Colorado and these types of things, but for me and him, we always talk about we want to hunt Colorado mule deer in November for our birthdays. So that's number one. I mean, there's tons of second choice, third season tags you can get out there.
Right.
And that's just something we want to do for our birthdays. And I don't ever want to give that up. Right. I love being in Colorado for my birthday. It's the best there is.
Cool.
And so for me, that's where my hunting starts. And then I also say I want an early elk hunt somewhere. I want archery, and this year it happened to be Wyoming because I had the points for the special draw, and that's how I built my season. But he, with the new kid on the way, he's looking more towards the end of the season, November.
Well, and I don't hunt with a bow quite yet, so I hunt with muzzleloader. So I'm looking at a lot of I hunt a lot of the general muzzleloader in Utah and stuff. So it's all about like he said, mine starts with Colorado, and then I build off of that.
Okay. Huh. Well,
mule deer wise.
I used to have to do that. Now my one friend Kurt says Randy just carpet bombs the West. That's the term he says for what
I will be there one day.
Yeah, and that's why I always try to pull myself back. Okay, Randy, not everyone's been doing this as long as you have. I've got the obligation of all right. Kid's out of college, he's doing his thing. I don't. I have a lot more freedom.
And the points, you have the points in the States too,
right?
And that's one day I'll be kids out of the house and a ton of points and just sitting back, looking at all I can do.
That's gonna be fun.
I remember the first year I ever applied for an out-of-state tag was in Colorado in 1993, and they just started their point system like 4 or 5 years before that. And I told my wife, I'm sending this money. And she's like, what? I'm like, well, she's like, well, we live in Montana. We can do all this. And I'm like, well, I know, but someday I think these points are going to be worth something. So then the next year I added Arizona and Nevada. And so now,
now you're a college fund into state points.
In the states where I've not drawn, I've got a gunny sack full of points. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
And his 28-year-old son has 17 points.
That's crazy.
Right. Yeah. And that's, my son's Arizona points are a perfect example. And his Nevada points. Okay. Yeah. In Nevada, he's got 16 elk points, 16 California bighorn and desert bighorn points.
You only have to claim residency in Nevada for 6 months to be a resident.
Oh, really? Wow. I might have to send him down there on a temporary assignment or something.
We have an insider we met this year at a show. He literally has max points in like 5 states. Wow. He's retiring next year, and he's going to move
to Nevada.
to Nevada for 6 months, then to Arizona for 6 months, and he's going to burn his points as residents.
It's actually really smart.
Well,
really
he should make sure that he covers that base legally for. Absolutely.
He's got
I think
it
he was
figured
a
out for
firefighter
sure.
or something, so I'm sure he's
cool.
Yeah, he's got it figured out.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
When my son he got his MBA in Chapel Hill last year, and he had these job offers in front of him, and he called me one day. He's like, "Dad, I've been thinking. I have all these points every year. What do you say I just take a year off from school and work, and I burn all these points, and we just go and film and hunt for the whole season?" I'm like, "You would do that?" He's like, "Yeah, I think I've saved enough money. I could maybe squeak by and do it." Well, then he got all these job offers, and he did the adult thing and
This is your son?
didn't do it. Yeah.
See, I wish I was your kid. I would have made the bad decision, taken way too much time off, and just went hunting.
But my point of all that is, for those listening, if in some of these states, building points for your kids is a little less expensive than it is for adults.
And it's very important.
Yeah,
Gives them just that little bit of head start.
Yeah, someday if they're going to hunt, and this is a completely different discussion about the validity or the appropriateness or the value of these point systems. I mean, there are some pretty elaborate schemes, some of them. They are just a reality of the landscape if you want to hunt the West.
Absolutely.
So you need to accept that. You can wish it was different all you want, but that's not going to get you a tag.
100%.
You live in the U.S., you got to pay taxes. You want to go hunting, you got to be a part of the states.
Yeah. Well, my leftover fill-ins this year. When you were saying, Lorenzo, that Idaho's your fill-in.
Yeah.
On the way down, driving down here to Boise, Marcus and I were, every time we'd drive by I'd be like, someday I'm going to hunt that place. And he's like, and he'd be pulling it up. And he's like, well, here are your draw odds. I'm like, I know, but that's for the limited entry. Well, let's just go in there for a general tag.
Yeah.
Because on purpose, I've kind of swung for the fences on some of my first applications. I haven't drawn anything yet.
That's my Nevada application for me. Just swing for the fences.
Oh,
it's
really?
my home state.
Okay.
It's got trophy quality everywhere. So
Yeah.
I swing for the absolute fences there.
Okay. So I might not end up with much for tags this year personally myself. So I'm filling in, and again, I've got the good fortune of Montana of over-the-counter elk and deer, but I'm pretty sure I'm drawing Utah. How I ended up with 20 pronghorn points in Utah.
Crazy.
I forgot about that.
That is so
That's crazy.
stupid. But, well, and then the way Utah does the drawing. Mm-hmm. So in 2000, was it 15 or 16? 16, I think. There were 2 people at my point level who applied for 2 tags, and I didn't draw. Well, I forgot that year I drew an limited entry archery deer permit. So they do their draw.
Yeah.
You're only allowed 1 limited entry
And they
tag
take you out.
in Utah.
They take you out of the rest.
Right. So as quick as I pulled that tag, you get points for everything else. Well, I thought, in 2017, I'll draw. Well, 2 guys who were buying points jumped back in. So
no way.
There were 3 of us. And guess who didn't get one of the 2 tags last year? Me. So I'm like this.
This is your year.
I'm hoping that might be my 1 tag that's a limited entry draw.
And that'll be archery tag?
No, that'll be rifle, pronghorn. So this is a year where I'm thinking about what are my fill-ins? How am I going to do it? And I've only got 3 pronghorn points in Wyoming, but I can find some pretty decent pronghorn hunting in Wyoming. And the beauty of that is that deadline is the end of May. So
time on that one. It's nice when they're spread out.
Yeah. And I'm sitting on max deer points in Wyoming. So if I end up with no real tags to speak of, having built all these points for all these years, that having Wyoming max deer points is kind of like an insurance policy.
Yeah.
I know that I can go in a pretty darn good unit with max points. So that's kind of the strategy in the way that I approach it. And I don't know, it's worked for me.
In Idaho, you can swing for the fences on the draw and then have the backup OTC. You've already bought the license.
Yeah. So even though this is a good point for you guys because of calendars or schedules, Lorenzo, you say that's going to be a backup here. So in years when I know I'm going to buy a license in a state, and let's use Idaho for an example, you're going to buy a license here. Are you going to apply for something else and swing for the fences just in case, like a sheep or a moose or a goat?
I need a Rocky, and I'm going to apply for sheep.
Okay.
That's what I use Idaho for.
Yeah. So at that point, you're already going to buy the license to come here deer and elk hunting. You may as well, what is it, $10 for the controlled hunt application in Idaho?
Yeah, maybe 15.
It's small enough that it makes all the sense in the world if you're carrying a hunting license to apply.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, here you have to send in all the money for the big three, but still, they send you all like $5 or $10 back. That's like
it's
El Cheapo. Whereas for deer and elk and antelope, you just have to pay them like $10 for the app fee, and then they let you know.
Exactly.
And you got until August 1st or something to buy your tag.
I think it's August 1st.
Yeah.
At least.
Our site says it. My brain can't tell you.
Yeah, I could probably look it up here at my laptop.
So to me, a lot of this is also just having a longer term strategy for the year and for multiple years.
Yeah.
So I'm all about getting the most bang out of your buck as you can. So if you know you're coming to Idaho for deer and elk,
100%.
Why are you not applying in some of the limited entry
Absolutely.
draws?
You got to play the financial game at the same time you play the draw game.
Yeah.
You have to.
And because there's no point system.
Right.
Your odds are not for great hunts. It's like New Mexico. They're not, 5%, 10% for great hunts.
I love New Mexico.
Yeah.
I love those no point draws. I love them. I'll forever.
I'm glad not every state's like
debt.
that.
Forever be in debt to those guys.
You.
Yeah, I think non-residents are hoping that because it's nice to have some states that are point systems, some that are bonus, some are preference, but it's nice to have Idaho and New Mexico as no point states.
Yeah.
Where everybody has the same odds every year, no matter how long you've been in the game.
Exactly.
And as non-residents, that's a little bit, for me anyhow, I like that, having that
I like it
additional
too.
option.
I like it a lot too. I'm biased, but I like it a lot.
I think we're all a little biased. But this year, here's what you guys have. You posted a strategy article about Montana sheep. And I'm not going to necessarily say the units. I think people figure it out. Where you pointed out that if you're a non-resident, your odds in high-profile sheep unit A are better as a non-resident than the other high-profile sheep unit B, even though it's the opposite for residents. Our odds are better in B than in A. And you guys pointed that out in a strategy article. Yeah. You should go and look at the trend of applications if you want to see how effective you guys are in reaching people. Now, all those in the last 3 years since you guys put that, the number of non-residents who followed your advice and are now applying in Unit A, it's crazy. There's between those two units, the average number of non-residents is like 4,400 a year. Pretty consistent. Right. Well, no, 6,400. So it used to be Unit A used to get like 1,800 of those non-resident applications. Unit B would get like the other 4,600. Now it's 4,000 over into the unit that used to be better draw odds, and only like 2,000 in
we need a new article. I'm going to tell Brady today.
You need to look at this in the article.
I'm telling Brady today.
Because now so many people followed what you guys put in that strategy article that it's different now for non. I just looked it up the other day out of curiosity. I'm like, holy cow, look how many people switched over from doing it.
See, that's good. That's good feedback. We need a follow-up article. Brady will be on that. It'll be out.
Yeah.
Brady's from Montana, so he's always in charge of all the Montana stuff.
But my point was, you guys are your strategy articles influence quite a few people.
Yeah, our strategy. Honestly, that's Brady, Trail, Brandon. Those guys. So a couple outside help. I feel like our strategy articles are as good as it gets.
They are really, really good.
I mean, especially if you are getting into a new state for the first time. I don't see how it gets much better than reading those articles before you apply.
Yeah.
And that's something we wanted to focus on too, is we wanted to take it from that level. If somebody wants to apply in these new states, we need to have the ultimate article for them to just feel full-blown comfortable, good and well, and go apply.
Yeah.
And we take pride in not like copying and pasting from year over year.
Right. No, you guys are.
It's a slippery slope because we'll have some other stuff that Brady's working on. I'm like, Brady, why is this taking so long? He's like, I'm 26 hours into this one. And that's an article he didn't even write, but he's doing all the graphs for it. And these things take.
Not to get too off topic, but this comes into, we do these off-season videos to show people a little bit of the culture and personality of Go Hunt. And people say that, all we do is have fun. And I tell them, well, if I videoed Brady for an entire day, are you going to watch 20 hours of writing a strategy article? No, you're probably going to turn it off. Like, that gets boring. You're seeing the 20 minutes of his day that he's like away from his computer, being Brady.
Yeah.
The rest of the time he's buried.
Well,
we were driving to the mountains the other day.
He's working the whole time.
And he's on his laptop the entire way. He gets off on it. He loves it.
Yeah.
He pounds coffee, and that laptop is. We were at lunch 2 hours ago,
and he's working.
And he's just sitting there grinding on an article.
That's all. I'm telling you, the guy puts in 20-hour days. Much the same as everyone else, but not to get off topic, like I said. But I mean, the off-season videos are the 20 minutes that everybody gets away from their desk for a little bit. You know?
Well, the reason I brought that up is if somebody is following advice or some of these groups that say, well, here are just first choice odds or generic odds or simplified odds. You would look at those without dissecting the resident versus non-resident and everything else. You would make the wrong decision.
Absolutely.
And you guys pointed that out in that article a couple of years ago. And now the number of non-residents that are hammering Montana, give me the breakout between resident and non-resident. These non-residents are paying attention, saying, I don't want this simplified stuff, and I want to see the trends. Well, the trend is, guess what? It's no longer as good of odds as it. Not that they were ever great, but
at least you were playing the little bit of odds.
Right, you were putting it in your favor. Yeah. So it's this is my year. I'm going to draw Montana sheep too.
I hope so.
I'm going to draw a Montana goat tag, and I'm going to do an elk. Did we talk about that? Did we have the podcast?
I don't think. I think that was just my elk-goat
combo tag.
Oh no,
that was not a podcast.
Oh, okay. So this is my year. I'm going to do an elk mountain goat combo hunt. And then I'm thinking, that I should just burn my Montana sheep points.
Trifecta.
I say that, right? Like in Montana, you can really decide you're going to burn your points. It isn't like, because it's a bonus point system. And me and about 10,000 other residents are sitting on max
But if
points,
you're feeling the luck.
You think so, Lorenzo?
I don't know. I don't know. It feels like there's some good energy in here right now. You might actually pull that off.
I agree, because he doesn't think he's going to, he's just saying a second ago, I got to, burn my Wyoming deer points. I'm not going to have much of a schedule this year. He's going to draw them all.
Oh, man, I hope you're right. I've never drawn my own sheep tag. I've been on 4 sheep hunts.
So my second year ever applying for sheep in New Mexico. I was telling everybody, and I feel pretty lucky. I think it might. I think I might.
That was the year you drew that one?
I drew a sheep tag.
Oh, jeez.
I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
It's that positive vibes,
Clean
it only
living.
works about once out of every million times you do it, but the one time it works, it feels really good.
He drew a fantastic Nevada deer tag that same year, too.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's called arguably one of the better tags in the state.
Clean living.
It was clean living.
Yeah.
We call it Lorenzo luck.
I don't know where it's gone since that day, but,
it's still there.
It'll come back.
You're talking about how much time Brady puts into those strategy articles. If people knew how much time I spend dissecting and researching and tweaking every little thing of my applications, both for that state, for that species, for the year, for
the overall strategy.
It would be embarrassing to tell people how many hours I spend doing that. And then I also do it for some of our guest hunters who they don't have the pile of points I have in some states, or their calendar's a little tighter than mine. And I've definitely, my wife says I have issues.
Like 2 years ago, you said that to Lorenzo and I, and we were like, let's see if he really is like this. So we look up your site usage on Insider. You were the number one, ranked from usage standpoint. We're like, okay, he wasn't BSing. That's real.
Really? Oh, Don't tell my wife that, because I tell her I'm just up there working because I have a home office. I'm upstairs. She's like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm just up here working."
Yeah.
And then every once in a while she'll walk over there and look like, "That doesn't look like work." "Well, no, I'm taking a little break here."
Yeah.
But I mean, like, if you think that there's so much money and in time, which drives emotion, people have invested in these points.
Right.
It's like you need to give the right, accurate information. It's like
You have to, especially if you're going to charge for it.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah, and you guys certainly do that. So I want to talk about a few other things. And this gets back to, I'm going to talk about the Nevada Dream Tag one first, and then I want to talk about 2% for conservation, because you guys are pretty proud of the fact, and so is 2% for conservation. Pretty proud of the fact that Go Hunt is now one of the members of 2%, but Nevada Dream Tags. Mm-hmm. So back to the point of funding and conservation. The Montana, we have super tags. Nevada, you guys have, it's called Dream Tags, right? Yep. And Wyoming has some derivative of it.
Arizona has super raffle.
Has, yeah.
Okay. So you guys told me that you're helping out. Nevada came to you and asked you, and Dow came and asked.
Yeah, Nevada sought us out, basically seeing us as a great crutch for them as far as operations and marketing go for them. And for us being Nevada-based, I'm born and raised Nevada, we were super proud of the fact that they came to us and saw that, we had the aptitude to be able to do something like this for them. Uh-huh. And it was a new avenue for us to help conservation, honestly.
Yeah.
So we agreed to facilitate basically the operations of the Dream Tags, which is their secondary outside of the normal draw. Right. Tickets into a drum for the 5 species. Yeah. Deer, elk, antelope, desert sheep, California sheep, and bear.
Okay.
So there's 6.
They just had six bear
species.
this year.
Bear this year.
Okay.
So we facilitated that.
And so when you, because now I get all these digital ads. Is that you guys serving me these digital ads?
Some of them. Some of us. Some of them.
Yeah. Depends if you like the ads. Yeah, we do them.
Yeah.
So is it the fact that a couple of weeks ago I went out and bought my applications for Nevada Dream Hunt?
Probably.
Okay.
You might be getting retargeted, but they have, like, they're in their legislation, they can't run their own draw. Their main draw or their Nevada Dream Tag draw.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they have to take it outside, so they got to have a third party.
Yeah, and they got a new vendor for their main draw, which is probably why I don't know if you've been in there yet, but the system's completely different.
Yep.
Yeah. Pretty slick, actually. And then they wanted a second different vendor for Dream Tags.
Oh, really?
So like Lorenzo said, they brought us on for that. And
so you guys aren't doing the draw.
No.
No. To be extra kind of church and state, we have another third party drawing company. That's all they do is kind of audits and third party programs like this. They're going to actually run it. So everyone who's purchased tickets, we're going to export that into Excel format. They're going to do a random number generator, and they're going to send us the winners. We'll communicate that to Community Foundation and Dow.
Okay.
Yeah. The reality of the situation is we understand that, this is a real once in a lifetime opportunity.
Right. And
we don't want any mud in the water as far as clarity to who drew, who didn't draw, if we had anything to do with it. I mean, we took a lot of pride in the fact that they sought us out to help them generate habitat money.
Reach.
Because with this money and, there's sometimes there can be a black eye around the governor tag stuff and these raffles and these tags and things. But the beautiful thing of them is that there's a 3-to-1 federal grant that Chris will be able to explain better than I can. But for every $1 that the state brings in this Dream Tag bucket, it gets a 3-to-1 match from the federal government that has to go.
Fish and Wildlife.
U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Right. That has to go directly into habitat management. Yep. Can't go into law enforcement.
Yeah, it's pretty strict on how you can use it. It has to be exactly for animals.
Yeah.
So
habitat. It's as powerful as it gets. So, for easy math, let's say there's $100,000 in there. They have $300,000 to match with it.
Right.
So that's a lot of extra money. Just for the greater good of people wanting the opportunity to draw a once-in-a-lifetime tag, but also, consider it a donation. Right. As far as, okay, I know if I give $1, there's going to be $4 in the overall pot. because, I want to get back to conservation.
Yeah,
So
I'm a sucker for every one of those. For all the states, but I don't know how I know how I ended up with when I was down doing that cheap drinker that with the Endow guys and Ben was there. Matt Maples was telling me about where some of their funding comes from for these special projects that they do. And he was telling me about the dream tags because I'll admit in prior years, I just, for whatever reason, I didn't do Nevada. And I'm like, well, hell, I can do that. So I went online at the hotel I was staying on that night and I bought my dream tag applications and, now I might go buy some more.
Well, it's cool too. If you spend $50 with them, you're actually they're going to end up getting $200 off of that with the grant. Yeah. So it's real money. I mean, they were very focused on this project, and we were like, okay, this is cool, raise some money.
Yeah.
But then you realize with the grants, this is a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
And then, excuse me, I was talking to Matt about how the water program gets funded in Nevada. It's an extensive program. You guys have. What he told me the number of man-made drinker catchments.
It's insane.
It is. That's Lorenzo. It's insane. I had no idea.
When you look at the book, the numbered book on how many are out there, it's like overwhelming.
Yeah.
That humans have donated that amount of money and time to go out and do this for the animals. Yeah. It's crazy.
And so he's asking me my hours and everything. I'm like, why do you need to know my hours? He said, because we can take our hours and say this is how many man hours were volunteered to this or woman hours, and they can submit that to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service as in-kind value contributed to the project. So he was telling me how much matching money they get in that drinker program, that water guzzler program, because of how he does his record keeping, how they're meticulous about every little detail. I'm like, you are this model of efficiency, Matt. You are killing it here. He's like, well, for us, water's key.
It is.
We got to get as much out of this program as we can.
Habitat restoration when it comes to pine and cedar pinion or cedar trees.
Yeah.
That's where pinion,
juniper,
pinion, juniper, and cedar trees.
Yeah.
And water restoration. That's where it comes in for us.
Yeah. Matt runs the water program, and he's a busy guy.
Yeah, for sure. They have a lot of those projects.
Oh, yeah. And he was telling me the number of volunteer groups that help them. In this one that we were at, it was Fraternity of the Desert Bighorn, Wild Sheep Foundation, and some NBU, Nevada Bighorn Unlimited folks were there. And there were some other groups too. I can't remember, but all of the main, what you'd think of as, mainstream conservation groups are there helping out. But then he's like, oh yeah, we got Pershing County Chuckers, and then we got Elko Bighorn Unlimited, and then we got it's like you guys have this culture of going out and working on projects in Nevada that's it's stronger than any other state.
Because we have to. We genuinely have to.
Oh,
our population of animals is fragile. Our, expansion of the human race in Nevada is getting extensive. Yeah. And we just don't have a lot of resource, especially, like I said, when you get into the cedar and pinyon juniper trees and the water stuff. I mean, it gets pretty crazy in Nevada. Yeah. And it needs a lot of help, and help is money.
So back to these Nevada Dream Tags, does some of that money from that Dream Tag, does some of that go to these kind of...
Almost all of it.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. How cool is that?
So it goes to an organization called the Community Foundation, and they give a portion, usually a very large portion of the funds directly to Endow.
Right. Yeah, they keep a small
Endow does an exact project, like you just said, is
paid for through that.
Yeah.
And we took a lot of pride in taking this on. Like I said, being Nevada-based, we saw fit that our marketing and the way we could explain this was in our customer service. I mean, we're obviously biased, but I full well and believe that we're number one in all of those things. So we wanted to leverage what we built over the last, 4 or 5 years and make sure that we could use it in a positive way towards conservation, specifically for Nevada.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I might have to go online and buy some more.
Please.
Lorenzo, if you say it's my lucky year, maybe this is it. So,
you got to talk to the third party outside of us.
Yeah. If someone draws this tag, they get to hunt any of the open units?
Yep, any open unit. Any open unit.
So it's the equivalent of the PIW tag,
Equivalent of PIW tag, which not a lot of people quite fully understand, but it's any open hunt, the weapon applies. Wow. So if you draw the desert bighorn sheep tag, you can hunt.
That's what I want.
You can hunt the muddies, you can hunt the McCulloughs, you can hunt the bears, barring where the year killed previous.
Yeah.
So where the hunter killed the year previous.
That one's off limits.
Just like the governor tags in Nevada, wherever for sheep, deer and elk don't matter. But for sheep, wherever the tag killed the year previous.
And we'll give you a little secret tip that we didn't realize until we started doing this was don't.
Wait. It's not going to be a secret tip, Chris.
It's good because this is going to raise funds for conservation.
Okay, all right. I'm willing to let.
I don't want to take money away from Endel, but you do not have to have a Nevada hunting license to buy dream tags.
Right. You just need there's a little thing.
Resource enhancement stamp, which is $10.
$10.
But so if you think about it, if you're a guy who's, you have more sheep points, but let's say you really want to drop sheep tag and you had 2 points.
Right.
You might be better off spending $150, $160 on tickets versus, applying at 1 or 2
never thought about that. Huh. Well, no one else. The Chris just don't listen to what he told you here. But no, I enjoy those things, and I'm at a point in my life where I can give more to conservation, and in this case, I get more.
Well, I
get more chances in the hat. And
I I'm a sucker to all the other states because it's the same. Maybe not the exact same, but very similar in these other states with grants and where the money goes. And it's an easy way for me to say, okay, well, if I'm going to spend, $20, well, that's 3 times that money on the back end. So I'll gladly have a chance to draw a once in a lifetime tag. But at the end of the day, I'm comfortable giving back to wildlife.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of the states have these, like Wyoming has you can donate to their access program. And so I guess I need more money. I got too much desire to spread it around.
See, all that good living that you're doing is what's going to equate to your Montana sheep tag.
Lorenzo, if I draw a Montana sheep tag, the way you're egging me on here, I'm going to call you and say, you're just going to have to come and share a camp with us for a while.
I would love to.
Yeah,
he's in for that.
I was talking to the Justin Cheedy there in Montana this year. It was an unbelievable year. I don't know if you saw that there were 2 rams found dead on Wild Horse Island that broke the world record for bighorn sheep. And then Justin shot a ram. A 6.5-year-old is all it was. This 6.5-year-old ram he shot would have been tied the hunter killed world record. He shot it in Montana this year. So we had 3 rams taken in Montana this year that were just monsters.
Wow.
It's so
that's good news.
It's stuff like that always causes you to dream when you really don't have. Well, you got sheep.
Dreaming's fun. Yeah. Dreaming's a lot of fun.
I just wish that the odds were better. But if the odds were better, we wouldn't probably have the quality that we have in Montana. So.
Exactly. I got a funny feeling about you this year. You got a little twinkle in your eyes. Don't you feel it, Lorenzo?
I do.
See,
it's that good living. It's that good living.
Oh, no. And here's the problem. If I draw, people are going to say, well, they just gave him that because he's been doing all these sheep conservation projects. Because we just released a video where in Montana, we went and helped with the sheep capture and disease testing and collaring thing. Yeah. And they're going to think I'm out there trying to bribe my way into a tag or something.
Well, hey, you deserve it in Nevada. You flew from Bozeman to Vegas. You drove an hour and a half. You hiked an hour. You took a helicopter. And that's a lot of effort to help our sheep there. So.
Well, it's the least I can do, though. I just think about the conservation story of sheep in Nevada, and we talked about this on a prior podcast after we were down there when our buddy Mike Spitzer shot his ram in November, is when I went to college in Reno, there were 3,000 desert bighorns in Nevada in 1988. Now you guys have 12,000.
Yep.
And you think about population expansion, long-term drought, cheatgrass, as Lorenzo was talking about, pinyon juniper cedar encroachment, wild horses. You got all these factors. You would think that there'd be a fourth the number of wild sheep.
Not to mention how fragile they are, too.
Yeah.
They're one of the most fragile animals out there.
Yeah, and so you've got 4 times as many, even with all those headwinds that they're facing. So to me, that's
a huge success story.
It is. It's huge.
That's just, and
we're transplanting, aren't we, to other states too?
Oh yeah, we've done transplants to Utah, and I think we're in. I don't want to be misquoted, so don't take me for a word, but I think we're talking to a couple other states about.
Yeah, I know there was a biologist,
well.
Clay Brewer was there, and I think if Clay's from Texas, and he ran the sheep program in Texas when he was a senior biologist and a person there with their parks and wildlife. I think he said some of their Texas desert bighorns came from Nevada also. Yeah. You guys are an exporter. Yeah. You guys have a trade deficit going on there. Kind of like Montana. We've been exporting quite a few bighorns. Also, the Dakota populations have the same Montana genetics.
Yes, they do. And they're killing some studs out there now.
Yeah, I think, if I remember right, I think Nebraska got some from us. But
you guys are giving.
Yeah, we try, but we're also quite covetous of our, possessive of our sheep. But, well, since you guys have informed the audience that I'm due a sheep tag, I don't know what I'm going to have to pay you guys when we get off the podcast here. But,
hey, like I was joking about with you earlier, just to be clear, we are not Russia. We are not tampering. This is a third-party absolute.
We're going to film it.
Yeah.
It's not us.
No. And we, like I said, though, but we understand the reality and how special these drawings are for the people who draw the tag. So we're going to film it. We have a third party doing it. It's going to be as clean as it gets.
No staff, family member of Go Hunt is allowed to be in the draw.
No.
Oh, really?
None.
Yeah.
Oh.
None.
Well,
Lorenzo's disappointed, but
since you guys can't be in the draw, I'm willing to buy more tickets then.
Yeah. No, you're associated with Go Hunt. You can't win either, maybe.
What?
Maybe.
Hold on.
You're fine.
You're good.
You're good.
You got serious. I was joking.
The look on his face, he's like, what?
I'm like, Chris, come on, you didn't tell me that. You should have told me before I spent $100 there.
No, you're good.
No, you're good.
So one other thing I wanted to cover is over here at the BHA Rendezvous, 2% for Conservation has a display there. And I'm taking my business through the process right now of Jared's helping us get certified / qualified to 2% for conservation. Awesome. And you guys, I just saw the press release where Go Hunt is now
newly joined.
You joined and you met the requirements of, what is it, 1% of
1% of
money?
gross revenue and 1% of your time.
Yeah. How cool is that?
It's awesome. We're extremely proud to be a part of that. Yeah. I mean, we're, for a lot of different reasons, to be able to be in the position we are right now, to support it, and even bigger, support BHA and some other, rendezvous type things where we can help lend a good hand and help make it, a more community type feel. Uh-huh. And then also the 1% of gross revenue and 1% of donating time. It's nice to be in a seat where, we've been in the industry for a short amount of time, but a good amount of time. Mm-hmm. And, we're able to be in the seat now where we can really support conservation in a much bigger way than just personally. Now we can do it as a business as well.
Cool. Well, they do have individual memberships too. If anyone's listening, you can go and sign up, and Jared has the forms of how you become an individual member of 2% for conservation. And it's kind of cool that how that got founded. The Wild Sheep Foundation, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, and Sitka Gear, if I remember right, were the three founding groups who said, we got to find a way for people and companies who want to do even more, can do even more. And so now Jared Frazier is the guy running the show. He's
a good guy. And he gives you freedom too, lets you support which organizations you want.
Yeah.
Just put some structure in place, and which is good. It forces us to track. So we have like a Google Doc. We're tracking our donations, our time commitments, shared it with Jared, and it helps us keep, because we've been dabbling in it, like he said, over the last 3 years since we've been in the industry, but it's kind of cool to be official with it.
And a lot of people think that 2% for conservation gets your money. They don't. They just want to be there to give you the logo and the endorsement
they want to facilitate.
Says, you guys have spent more than at least 1% of your gross receipts on conservation. That it's not like 2% is saying send us that money. They're just I guess I'll call them the good housekeeping.
They're like the platform.
They're the seal of approval to say, yes, this company is really doing that. And as it grows and grows, my hope is that hunters and anglers who are really serious about conservation say, these are the kind of companies I want to do business with. Yeah. They're giving back more than they need to.
conservation has to come before hunting. Without conservation, there isn't hunting.
No hunting, right.
And it's not, saying I'm a conservationist or talking about projects that have been done on the side. It's actually taking action towards conservation. That's what works, whether it be money or whether it be time. And that's why we support 2%, is because it's both. Yeah. And it gives you that opportunity to, you can go above and beyond the 1% of money or the 1% of time. And in a lot of cases, we do, and I'm sure other people do as well.
Right.
So conservation is, the famous saying, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
Well, in hunting, conservation has to come first. It's not even, the old telltale rhyme of what came first. Right. Conservation has to come first.
Yeah. Well, it's great that I think we're in a new era of conservation, and maybe it's just the people that I hang out with, but I've never in my 30 years of being involved in public land advocacy and conservation seen as many and take this as for me, young as anyone 52 and younger, because I'm 53. I've never seen so many younger people younger than me, engaged and involved and ready to do whatever they can for conservation.
Yeah.
I'm struck by it. And, a week ago I was the MC of an RMEF event, and a bunch of college kids came there and helped out. I was like, how cool is this?
Yeah.
And then the Wild Sheep Foundation hosted a college club event where they had all the college clubs of the wild sheep, the elks, and so I go out there, and here's all these 20 to 25-year-olds who are just there, just excited about what can I do? How can I do this? What more can I do to volunteer? And so I'm hoping that we're in this new era of conservation where we've come up with some new ideas that work.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with the old models. They raise a lot of money and
Absolutely.
They did an amazing amount of good. But as times change, as the ability to communicate with people changes and all the technologies, and just as society changes, conservation's got to adapt to stay relevant.
Absolutely.
And so I think over here at the Rendezvous, I definitely see that there too. So
we're in a good spot with millennials. Millennials are chasing experiences, more, it's more backcountry style hunting, and,
and it's more of a community, community feel, which conservation definitely benefits from a community feel.
Oh yeah. And I was over there, this morning. They're definitely a buzz of this community feel. And I specifically asked BHA if I could go talk to their college clubs. So they got them all together this morning. And I usually don't get too emotional and worked up, but I started to talk about how inspiring they were for me. And I got this lump in my throat where I'm like, gee, Randy, get it together. But afterwards, a bunch of them are like, holy cow, that was, thanks for saying that. We had
cool.
no
That's
idea.
awesome.
But it wasn't on BHA's calendar. But when I went to that college event last week where Wild Sheep brought all these groups together, I just looked around there. I'm like, you know what, Randy? All you old gray-haired farts who say, there's no hope, you need to bring all those cynics to a thing like this.
Yeah.
And I left there. I went home. I told my wife, I said, you know what? This is probably the coolest thing I have been to this year. She's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, here were all these young people there wanting to do more for wild places, wild things, clean air, clean water. They're passionate. And I said, there were over 100 of them there. I couldn't talk to them all. She's like, well, did you tell them that it meant a lot to you? I'm like, well, no, they were having a raffle and there was free beer, and I couldn't compete with the free door prizes and the free beer. So, actually, I don't know if there was beer there. I think because it was a college thing, I think it was like, there were some sort of drinks, but it wasn't alcohol. So when I came here, I'm like, I need to tell these folks that they inspire me. And it does. Anytime I see people engaged in conservation, I get fired up. Because it's like Lorenzo, I've heard you talk about your family and what hunting has meant to you guys. You've expressed it very well on this podcast before, and it's for me too. I think about what would America be like without the hunting, angling, conservation ethic. I can't, it's not the America that is in my mind.
Not at all.
It's a lot different.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion, I think it's, these people that are involved with hunting, angling, and conservation are the ones that keep America grounded. They're the ones that keep it from being too far and gone.
Yeah. And I think about what would my life be like without this conservation, public land, still a place where you can go and do the things we love about, we're passionate about. My life would just be so different. My mind can't even go to what the hell would I be doing with my spare time. I'd probably be in jail.
Yeah.
I'd probably be sleeping under a bridge somewhere in a cardboard box.
All that accounting would make you go crazy.
I would definitely not have the light of the tunnel that got me through 31 tax seasons. Even though the last few tax seasons I've kind of bailed. And
I don't know what my relationship would be with my dad and my brother without hunting, which is crazy to think. No, because that is our relationship. Yeah. If it's not work that we're talking about, that's what we talk about: conservation and hunting. Yeah, I don't know. And so all those thoughts were going through my head while I'm talking to these college kids, and here's a whole room full of them. And I suppose they were thinking, "Well, Randy Newberg wants to come and talk to us," and it just struck me like, Randy, this is the future. When, Chris, you were talking about how we've got millennials in this community feel, I really felt it there. And I'm like, gosh, compose yourself, Newberg. You're about ready to just fall over here. And I usually don't get nervous or worked up like that, but it was just, and so that was like 5 or 6 hours ago, and I've just been thinking about how cool it is. I mean, I say it, and people think I say it somewhat flippantly, and I don't, but this is the greatest country in the world for so many reasons. Absolutely. And for me, what makes it so great is the public lands and the things I get to do. It's like, well, and I say, what a country. Yeah. And where else in the world could you build a business on what you guys have done about hunting and research and information and
finding
conservation?
Opportunities on public land?
Yeah, nowhere.
Yeah, nowhere.
Question.
Where else in the world could I build platforms like I've built around hunting and public lands and conservation? Yeah. Nowhere.
It makes sense why you got choked up a little bit, though, because you've put a lot of personal time and energy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you've seen some ebbs and flows along the way as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's paying off. You're seeing the younger generation get it. You're seeing organizations with a lot more momentum than they had 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah. So that makes sense.
No, I was telling them, one of them asked, well, what was it like when you started this? I said, well, when I started what? Because it was 30 years ago I really jumped into this advocacy thing, and then it was 10 years ago that I started our platforms. And they're like, no, when you started these platforms, what tipped you over? I'm like, well, it was kind of by accident. And so then I went in to explain that the first time I went to the SHOT Show with our idea of self-guided public land hunting and the why of our business plan, and right, no accountant can start a business plan without a 4-inch thick business plan, right? Ours says to promote self-guided public land hunting and create advocates for that cause. That's been the why for this business for 10 years. It's never changed, and it will never change. And even though platforms like TV is now in our past, and Amazon and YouTube is our future, and we added a podcast and all this stuff, nothing has ever changed in the why. And so I answered the question of, well, the first time I went to the SHOT Show, I got laughed out the door. They're like, public land? Good luck with that, son. And, they kind of pat you on the back. Oh, self-guided, huh? Well, how many people do you think really want to watch you shoot, white-tailed does? I'm thinking to myself, these were the industry experts, right? They were the ad agencies and the network executives. And so here we are at the SHOT Show, just when I came over and visited you guys in January. None of those guys are there anymore.
Imagine that.
And our platforms are growing like crazy. And it's not, it's to your point, Chris, of seeing changes and evolution and how things have grown. It's not that I'm a rocket scientist or we're doing anything great. I think we lucked out. We realized that there was this building idea about public lands, about conservation, about the adventure experience that hunting and fishing offer. And we just happened to catch the big wave. Yeah. And I'm just going to ride it till I get to shore and crash. And they say, well, that was Newberg. Yeah, bury him.
I think it's around for a while, though.
For sure.
I do. I sure hope so. I hope that everybody listening thinks about, another minute or another dime that maybe they can throw towards the cause of conservation. Send an email, make a phone call,
for sure,
whatever. And if they're really lucky, they can go to Nevada and volunteer for a water project.
Oh, we'll take them.
Oh, yeah, that was so fun. And there was one guy there. I'm trying to remember what his name was. He's been doing this for 30 years. He goes on every one of them. He's got like major plumbing skills. He was plumbing all the tanks and stuff. Oh, I wish I could remember his name. But
that's awesome.
He comes up to me. He's like, "You're that TV guy." I'm like, "No, I'm an accountant." He's like, "No, you're that TV." But anyhow, I started talking to him, and you could tell this is what he lives for. He was there. His son was there. His granddaughter was there, and his granddaughter's boyfriend was there, and it was just so cool to hear him talk about, when I worked, there's a project up in 251. Yeah, I did that one up there. And he had every project, every date he worked on them, who all was there.
That's fantastic.
Back to my point of in Nevada, it seems like this is part of what you guys have as a culture.
It is.
100%.
It definitely is.
Well, we have water issues.
Yeah.
I felt so guilty. Brady and I were supposed to go there.
Oh, you were?
The mountains got like 6 feet of snow, and him and I are ski junkies. So we played hooky, and we went up there. And then I hear that you were there. So you're flying from Bozeman all the way. Yeah. Ben Stoner went up there, and then he helped his friend move that afternoon. I'm like, God, you guys are better people than me. I got to make up for it next event.
We'll hold you to that, Chris. Yeah. And so I don't know, guys. Have we covered everything on our list, or
when are they going to come up to you and say, "Hey, you're that YouTube guy," instead of "Hey, you're that TV guy"?
It depends on the age. Like when, so I had to wait down in the lobby for these guys for the last half hour. So
Sorry about that.
They were delinquent. Yeah. But it's not like I was waiting. Just before you guys came up, this one guy is like, "I found you on Amazon, man. I didn't know who you were, and I was telling my coworkers that there's this guy on Amazon, and I'm telling them about him." They're like, "Well, yeah, if you owned a TV, you would have known about that before now." So I think that it's going, Chris.
Now we're getting somewhere. If you're getting a new audience on Amazon that didn't know who you were, that's good for the whole industry. That's awesome.
Did I tell you what our Amazon numbers were in the first quarter?
You hinted at them.
What's that?
You hinted.
Oh.
You going to share?
Yeah. So the first quarter of 2018 on Amazon, our minutes viewed is more than all the minutes we had viewed on TV in 2017.
100%, I believe that.
How crazy is that?
For sure. I could believe that, no problem.
So when Amazon says their universe in the United States is 75 million people or 75 million households, I now believe it.
Yeah.
My Amazon numbers are ridiculous.
It's crazy.
That's awesome.
And
That's fantastic.
It's just now we've put the first, so season 6 is the stuff we filmed in the fall of 17. We have the Leupold, Tracy Pettit. We have her elk hunt up there live. In the next week, we're going to put a Wind River, Wyoming elk hunt up there. And then we're going with my son's moose hunt in Montana. And then we've got a really cool deer hunt with a disabled vet and 2 youth hunters. That'll be up there. So we've not really even, the stuff that people can watch right now is mostly old stuff.
It's old content, yeah.
But we've got that many views. And then
that's awesome.
YouTube is still like 4 or 5 times bigger than Amazon. So many people ask me, well, why'd you leave TV? And this is nothing against TV. This is strictly a business decision. If TV is now down to 10 to 15% of my views, and in the TV model, you have to write them a big check
up front.
I mean, these aren't little checks you're writing the network. In the time I've been on TV, the smallest check I ever wrote was 50-some thousand. The largest check I ever wrote for a year of airtime was $180,000.
That's just crazy.
It's a
So
broken business model.
yeah, so you think about me looking at those costs to get them to air my show or my content in a lower quality format, not HD in most markets, interrupted by commercials, telling me what I can and can't provide or produce. Oh, you can't have this kind of da-da-da. Their production guidelines are thick, and they do that. They're trying to maintain consistency. Or I can say, I'm not going to spend all that money. I'm going to go advertise where you can watch us on YouTube or where you can watch us on Amazon. You don't have to be Einstein to say, wow, those other two platforms are now 80 to 90% of your views, and you don't have to write that big check. And they're paying you money every month. It's
nice.
Yeah. And so I've been asking all these younger people here, just for anecdotal evidence, you have a TV package? They just kind of laugh like, what? My grandparents have a TV package is kind of what their answer is. I'm like, oh, okay. Do you have Amazon or do you have YouTube? Oh, yeah, I get everything from Netflix or Hulu or what. But they even rattled some off. I don't even know what the heck some of those platforms were.
I know, they're popping up like crazy.
So,
but they release so much content on those platforms, way more than network TV.
Yeah. And the quality of the viewing experience is really, really high. So
yeah, you don't have to do with commercials. Way better.
This movie that we're premiering tonight called Uncommon Ground, we've got a special BHA version. If you get to see it, if you know Ty Stubblefield, hopefully Ty doesn't lose his job with the outtakes that we put in at the end. So that's the BHA version. That's not what's going to go on Amazon, but we'll get that loaded up pretty soon too. And then we're going to start really advertising that, hey, you can find us on Amazon. So then, Chris, to your point of hopefully someone says, hey, you're the Amazon guy.
Yeah.
I hope it's even more so going forward, but I think it will. And, some people are like, oh, did you get mad? Did you have a big fight at the network? No, it wasn't. They're going to be relevant. They're going to do their thing, but I think the opportunity is there for us to do so many more cool things.
For sure.
That it's just a business decision of, this is what I want to do. And
way better.
Yeah. And when you get to be old and gray, you get the privilege of doing what you want to do, not what you have to do anymore.
Kudos to you though for switching gears and not being afraid to pivot and try new things. And that's big. That's awesome.
Well, I'm sure you guys face some of those same things as you guys decided. Is this a business that would work? Is it going to have some acceptance? Are we going to be able to pull this off? It's the same thing in what I do. I mean, 2 years ago when we embarked on this digital strategy that started with the YouTube channel and then added the Amazon channel, there's no guarantees. We could have fallen on our face and people would be like, oh, that knucklehead Newberg, what an idiot, which they may still say that. But
I doubt that.
You know how business is.
Yeah,
for
sure.
You got to look at it, analyze it, and say, all right, what's more down the road rather than what's behind me on the trail? And you just do your best to try to figure out what that is.
No, we try to always do that too. We're thinking 2 years, 3 years out.
Yeah.
We have a product roadmap for the next 5 years.
Oh, do you?
We know exactly where we want to be.
Exactly where we're going.
Wow. Huh. Can I bring my headaches to you guys and have you draw me that roadmap?
Absolutely.
We've appreciated it in the past.
I'm sure we'll get some ideas.
A couple of our product enhancements are directly from you.
Exactly.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Huh. So now some of my secrets that I would tell you guys about are going to become available to the world.
That's one way to look at it. Or you can look at it like you are helping the next generation of hunters, finding opportunities, get in the field, supporting conservation.
Well,
so think of it.
Right.
The more secrets you share, the more...
I do. And that's kind of how I've come to view it. 20 years ago, so many people were like, I'll tell you this, but don't tell anybody. Yeah. Well, over time, those weren't secrets for much longer. Well, for me, I tell people, if you think it's a secret, don't share it with me. Because my job in life is to lower the hurdles to make everybody feel that there's an opportunity for them.
Exactly.
And I really don't have anything that I feel is a secret. I get up and do seminars or whatever, and some people are like, I can't believe you said that. Well, why? Go do it. I don't care. Yeah. So
Yeah.
There's nothing better than getting a customer email saying, "Thank you guys so much for everything you do. Like I went on an elk hunt because of something I found on your site last year and I killed. Here's a picture." It's the best. We always forward it amongst the team, and like it's very gratifying.
Yeah. And that's why since my wife started handling my emails a few years ago, she gets those same emails because we've never taken a dime out of the platforms. We just keep reinvesting, and it's a lot of work for her. I mean, both when I'm gone, but she does a lot of stuff. And so when she gets those emails you're talking about, to her, I'll come home and she'll be like, "Oh, you got to read this email from so-and-so. That's so cool." And it just makes her day. It's like, this is why we're doing what we're doing. This is our why. This is the cool part of it. But, well, guys, I've kept you long enough. I
want to go to this free beer.
Beer?
Self-called spoken of.
Oh, my goodness. It starts in 15 minutes.
I want to go to that, and I want to watch your film.
Yeah,
our
film is in, let me see, 4 hours.
Okay.
So, yeah.
We'll be there.
All right. Thanks for all you guys do. Thanks for supporting conservation, BHA, 2%, you guys support so many groups. We couldn't rattle them all off.
We support the betterment of hunting. Whatever that is, we support the betterment of hunting.
That's a good way to put it. And thanks for doing it.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thanks for listening, folks. Until the next time, we're going to go over here to the BHA rendezvous, and we're going to have big smiles. Lorenzo's thirsty. I think Chris is going to dance.
Yeah, I do like to dance, actually.
Thanks, folks. Take care.